Truth in Literature by Logan Proctor. When we consider the truth in literature, we have to consider four things. What is truth? How can it be applied to literature? A good story versus a true story. What makes a story? What kinds of truth are possible in literature? And do we decide that only one truth is available or multiple? So first we need to start with how we define truth. Truth can be defined as a statement that which is true or in accordance with fact or reality. We can also take how we define truth and relate it to literature by knowing the truth behind the author, the truth behind the character, differentiating between what is true and what are symbols in a story, and how the reader interprets what they are reading. An example of differentiating between the truth in literature and the symbols that the author uses is in The Life of Pi, where Richard Parker, the tiger, is used as a symbol for Pi himself. So the second thing we have to look at is a good story versus a true story, and what makes a good story. Things that people want to see in a good story include entertainment, a successful plot that includes a conflict and resolution. They want to see creativity, and they want to see the effective use of literary devices. So a good example of how different people define a good literature text is from Alexander Pope in an essay on criticism. This quote is from Alexander Pope's An Essay on Criticism, and the quote shows how this one type of person wants their poetry to be dazzling and put together, but not for the good of writing, but for the entertainment. So, what kind of truth can we find in literature? So the first kind of truth we can find is in literature, which means that the literature itself is the truth. The second kind of truth we can find is the truth in literature, but it has nothing to do with what is happening in the outside world. And the third type of truth is that there is truth that is in literature that we already know is relating to whatever is happening or has happened outside of that literature piece. So all this talk about truth brings us to our main person who defines truth and how it should be told, and this is Emily Dickinson. So let's check out what she has to say about truth. In Emily Dickinson's poem, Tell the Truth But Tell It Slant, she uses that quote to mean to tell the truth but tell it in a different form. She also goes on to say success in circuit lies, which in this context means you could go around the truth, or it may be best to not arrive at the truth at all when you're telling it. She also states to let the truth dazzle gradually, which means to tell the person the truth slowly so that person can fully understand it. Now that I presented the information about truth and defining truth and how other authors look at truth and use it, I want to talk about how we should approach truth in literature and what truth means when it comes to stories. To determine if a piece of literature is true, we should follow these steps. First, read the piece of literature. Then, figure out if it is realistic for the piece of literature to be true.
Then we should go on to determine if the truth in the piece of literature can relate to any outside events that have happened in the past or that are currently happening today. Then, once we figure out all of these past steps, then we can analyze and determine the truth within the literature.